Hi, today we're going to begin a two-day lesson on experiments and how to set them up and carry them out. I'm going to highly recommend that you read what your textbook has to say about this, and you'll find that information on pages 243 to 247. I say that again because our book is it's designed to be read, and they'll say a lot more in there than what I can put into any set of notes here. So it always makes good sense to look back over the text and see if they agree with what I said. Hopefully they do, but they'll always have different explanations, different words than mine, so it's well worth your time to read that section today. As we're trying to decide as statisticians whether one thing actually causes another thing to happen, that is a very weighty thing to do, okay? If you're saying that event A causes event B to happen, you better be awfully darn sure that it does. If you're going to do that kind of inference, folks, that kind of supposing, you need to be able to prove your results, and performing an experiment can help you do that. It's also possible that you can prove that using an observational study, and we'll look at both of those today. In an experiment, folks, the researcher imposes a condition on the subjects. Okay? They make the people or the units do something. They impose a condition on the units, then observe the results. For example, if I wanted to see whether fertilizer A or fertilizer B helped my plants to grow better, then I would assign some of my plants to be in fertilizer A, or to get fertilizer A, and some of them to get fertilizer B, and see what happens. That's an experiment. The researcher imposes a condition. He makes the units do something or change in some way. Now, you know and I know that it might not always be good or ethical to experiment with people's lives. For example, and this is a big one in our society, it's never been clearly demonstrated that smoking causes lung cancer. Folks, for one reason that is so is you can't make people smoke. That's unethical. Okay? We can't say, okay, group A, you smoke a pack a day. Group B, no smoking for you, and then let's see what happens. That is unethical. So it would be wrong, folks. Okay? It would be morally wrong to make people do something that's unhealthy or dangerous. While I'm writing this, I hope I can talk and write at the same time. It'd be wrong to make people do something unhealthy or dangerous. In one of my first years of teaching statistics, one student wanted to do an experiment for their big end of the year project. What they wanted to do was have one group eat a healthy breakfast, and this person was defining healthy breakfast in their own way. Have one group eat no breakfast, and have another group eat an unhealthy breakfast like Pop-Tarts or something like that. It turned out really quickly. You know, you could see pretty quickly that we were not going to be able to do that, because we can't tell people, hey, you eat Pop-Tarts for the next 2 weeks and let's see what happens to your grades, okay? That would be morally wrong. We shouldn't do it. So if this is the case, so if it's not possible to do an experiment, an observational study might be your ticket, okay? So let's talk a little bit about what an observational study is. By definition, no conditions are imposed, but you select subjects or you select units that already have your condition. They already fit your bill. And what you do, of course, is So you investigate, you observe. What happens to these folks. Now, if you think about this, with the smoking example, we can't make anybody smoke, but we certainly can look at records of people who do smoke, and we can note what happens to their blood pressures, what happens to their oxygen levels in their blood, etc. Right? We can already look at that stuff, and then we can compare it with people who don't smoke. So it's possible that you can talk about causation that way. However, usually an experiment carries more weight. All right. So in an observational study, you select subjects that already have your condition, and then you look at what happens or happened. By the way, you can look at records that are old, right? They don't have to be recent. As long as there's documentation, you can use things that have happened long ago in the past in an observational study. There is one issue that we need to address before we end this tiny little discussion today, and that is the issue of confounding. Take the cigarette smoking example again. I said that they haven't been able to prove that smoking cigarettes causes lung cancer, and that is the truth. That's never been proven. But folks, partly that's due to the fact that there are so many other things that influence whether or not people get cancer. Things like heredity and diet and activity levels and all of those things, or being in unsafe conditions. Like I've had friends whose parents worked with asbestos, and it pretty much, that's an unsafe thing. So confounding is basically when two possible things, two or more, possible influences are mixed up in such a way that you can't tell which of them is really having an effect. When two or more possible influences are mixed up in such a way that you can't separate their effects. Not possible to separate their effects is a good way to say it, perhaps. I want to read that sentence one more time and just make sure I'm saying what I really want to say. When two or more possible influences are mixed up in such a way that it's not possible to separate their effects. Yep, that's what I want to say. So, if you want to make a determination, you want to make a conclusion about cause and effect, which is usually better, an experiment or an observational study, hands down, this is better. Because when you are doing an observational study, again, you open yourself up to confounding. Maybe you haven't asked your subjects the right questions to decide whether or not your factor is the thing that's causing something else to happen. Maybe there's something that you've overlooked. Maybe that record wasn't kept for these patients. An experiment is definitely the better way to determine cause and effect. Okay? And that's what our lesson is today. I hope that you'll get out there right now. You've learned some vocabulary pretty much. Hopefully read your book a little, or how to, what makes a difference between experiments and observational studies. Get out there, try that, you try, and we'll see you in school.